Hey, welcome to Adobe Live. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If we haven't met yet, I'm Jordan Danae Ellis, Community Manager for Adobe Express and entrepreneur for over a decade. And I'm so excited to be joined by Andy Lambert, our resident social media expert. Hi, Andy.
Hey Jordan, how are you? Good to see you again.
Good. Good to see you too. So some people may know what's going on by now. This is the third or fourth month that we have tuned in at the end of the month to go over all of the social media updates that have happened in the past month. So especially for busy folks, busy brands, busy business owners who don't have time to keep up with all of the platforms and all of the changes that happen all of the time. We're so thankful for you that you've done all the research for us. So thanks so
It's,
much.
it's my pleasure and my word. There's some treats in store this month. Well, treats, depending on how you view things. Yeah, I'll let you be the judge of that. But fundamentally, so much has shifted over the last month. And yeah, really excited to dive straight into it.
Yeah, so over the next hour, we'll let you know everything that's happened in the world of social in the month of July. So I'm very excited to see. I'm very excited to see what we have.
Let's do it. So let's jump straight into the screen share here because
Cool.
there's so much to go through. And I think possibly this month has been probably has seen one of the biggest shifts we've seen in the world of social for a long time. Particularly, I think this is Facebook's biggest ever change. I can't remember a bigger one. So there's a lot of implications for us running social, but actually really exciting implications. And there's some really interesting data and trends that we want to dive into today. And Jordan, I love your input on these as well. And any questions that come through in the chat, yeah, we are all ears.
There
And yeah,
are so many people in the chat. There's Sean, Sam, Kathleen, Joel. Thank you all so much for joining. Yeah, if you have any questions, I'll interrupt Andy. So go ahead and let us know.
awesome. Yeah, I expect quite a few questions because I think this is both represents quite a significant change in approach for Facebook and Instagram in particular. But with changes come opportunities. So I think certainly from like an organic growth perspective, organic meaning we don't have to pay for this type of growth. I think there's a huge amount of opportunities. So three things: trends,
Awesome.
data, new features. As I say, like there's a lot of stuff going on. The idea of this show is not to overwhelm you with all of this stuff. It's really to arm you with all of the context you need to make the best possible decisions that you can. But remember, again, we can't be everywhere, we can't do everything, but ultimately you can make some smarter choices based on some of these changes, is the overall idea. But first, let's touch on this. This is
So
quite an important one.
excited.
So
Yes.
go on then, Jordan. I'm going to be speaking loads for this one. So do you want to share the goodness here?
Yeah. So, for anyone who has asked for this, which may be some folks in the chat, LinkedIn and Pinterest are now available in the content scheduling option in Adobe Express. So, we had Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter before, and now we have LinkedIn and Pinterest. So you can fully plan out your content. I'm so excited because we've talked a lot about reusing content and batching and planning for all of your networks at the same time. So this just added two more, which is great news. Just made all of that a lot easier. So I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, it falls perfectly in line with us. We talk about the importance of multi-channel. We talk about the importance of going broad. So this is a great step in this direction, especially with LinkedIn's a really important one. LinkedIn personal profiles are yielding really significant growth at the moment.
Yeah.
LinkedIn's creator mode is really powerful for personal brands, small businesses to drive growth. And also, I think it's an important distinction to call out. Adobe Express and the content scheduler feature is the only product that I'm aware of that allows for video publishing to LinkedIn personal profiles, both of which we know are the most important things to do on LinkedIn, videos and personal profiles. So hopefully that's going to help unlock some growth opportunities. So very excited about that. Trends. Right, I'm going to start with a bit of a negative one, but a negative which will then become a positive. So stick with me on this one.
This is actually perfect because Doris in the chat just asked if you believe Instagram is a viable platform for advertising. So that's something we're
Here we
about to talk
go.
about right now.
We're going straight into it, because it would have been pretty hard for anyone that even is mildly interested in the world of social media not to have noticed what's happening in Instagram. It's pretty high profile. the change.org petition to make Instagram again. You'll have seen this, got 70,000 signatures, and the chief product officer of Instagram, Adam Mosseri, basically came out yesterday with a statement to say, yeah, we hear you, but we're not making any changes. So Instagram is changing, and we're going to talk about this. So the bad news is this, and I think we all know this, is that feed engagement has been on a downward trend. We know this whenever we look at our data. I think you've got some good points on this, Jordan, which we'll come to in a second. Yeah. But like we will have all seen this. We're all in the same boat there, where we can't get the same amount of organic engagement without paying for it on Insta. So you do more on Insta than I do, actually, Jordan. So do you want to chime in on this?
Yeah, I mean, if anyone has watched before, you know that I've had kind of a crazy year where I've been working full time and in grad school, which I just finished. So I wasn't sure like how much of that was just me being less available, which is just part of life sometimes. Like I haven't been on the platform as much, and I know lots of times platforms reward you for spending more time on them, but I have absolutely noticed Instagram was the main way that I marketed my side hustles, and it still is. It's just not really going as far. So have absolutely noticed a decrease in engagement for sure.
Yeah, it's I expect lots of people that are listening now will identify as well. And there really is a very clear reason for this, is that Instagram pivoted in 2020 and it would have been August. So precisely 2 years ago, pivoted, released Reels, and ever since has really been hitting it hard. They kind of gently introduced it at first, and now it's basically all in Reels. Yeah. Now, carousels still do perform the best. So if we're still talking about feed post engagement, carousels, as we've spoken about before, so your multi-image posts that you swipe through still perform the best. And we see this trend happening on other platforms too. But ultimately, they're all following the same downward trend. Why is it? We all know why. Reels, ultimately. So Reels is a thing that's really taking over the Instagram experience. Some of you might experience a different Instagram to others. I don't have this yet, but one of my colleagues here does, which is a kind of full screen Instagram feed view where it basically looks like TikTok, complete full screen takeover. They're testing it with quite a wide range of users. It looks like it's going to roll out. So basically, if you've used TikTok and you know about TikTok's For You page, which is basically algorithmically recommended content that the platform believes you would like, is going to be the primary experience that you'll get in the app. And that is really the source of a lot of users' frustration, because it is no longer about followers. It's no longer about the communities, of which Facebook's and Meta or Instagram's broader statement was always about like making deeper connections. They seem to have come back on that a little bit, where it's just basically about maximizing time spent on an application. If we're being completely cynical, I'm in product development. We know what it's about, where it's about getting users to spend as much time on the product as possible. So that's a negative take. The positive take, however, is that for us getting ourselves known, it then becomes much easier. And this is what we're talking about, the kind of the positive side to this, is where the opportunity is opened up for those that are willing to do more short form video. And Instagram Reels really perform the best under 60 seconds. We can do up to 1 minute 30 Reels, but they really work better under 90 seconds. So anyone that's willing to kind of pivot towards that strategy will be seeing significant growth. Talking about significant growth, I started noticing a trend last week where on Twitter, people are starting to say, like, what is happening with Instagram Reels? They're pushing it so heavily that we're just getting crazy views. So here's a selection of a few tweets that I saw. It's like, okay, so this suddenly looks very, very interesting. Lots of people are seeing incredible growth, unbelievable view counts, even compared to TikTok, which is typically where you'd get the best amount of organic reach for your content. So I thought, you know what, let's do a little bit of an experiment, because we like a bit of an experiment. As anyone who might know me, and as Jordan knows about me, love a bit of data. So I thought I'd do a quick bit of an experiment around it. The context is this isn't a perfect experiment. It's a bit rough and ready, if you will, because naturally it's just my accounts, 3 accounts, because I chose these 3 networks because they're the ones that typically have the best organic reach: Insta, LinkedIn, and TikTok. So I've got very different followers across each of those, as you can see, but I posted the same thing at the same time across these 3 different platforms. So what happened? So let's just dive into these. So firstly, with LinkedIn, we're going to look at two different metrics here. One, impression rate, which is the percentage of followers that you reached with your content. So basically, if you have an impression rate of over 100%, it means you're reaching more people than that are in your audience. That's a really important thing to think about, because it means that you're getting known further beyond your current audience. So you're growing. So impression rate, and then you've got engagement rate. I've spoken about this lots, and we'll do some more sessions around analytics as well. It's kind of like my favorite area, because nerdy like that.
That's why we're a good team, because I don't do it. But I will say this is doable. Like, calculating two numbers once a week is doable to me. So if anyone is on the like not so into analytics train, hopefully maybe we can all start here.
Absolutely. I mean, and for me, I think it's these two data points that define social media success. So we don't need to worry about all of the different nuances. As long as we know, are we reaching more people than in our current audience, impression rate, and out of those people that we're reaching, how many people are interacting with our content? So typically, responding to it, because that's really what we're trying to do. We've got two objectives in most social campaigns: is we're trying to get in front of more people, or we're trying to get a form of action from those people, whether it's a click, whether it's a like, comment, etc. So if we look across these two dimensions, we pretty much can define social media success. Are we reaching more people, and are those people liking what we're doing? So here we go. Let's set the scene a little bit here. So I've got 15,000 followers on LinkedIn. So, you would look at that and think, oh, that looked okay. 8,000 views on the content, but that's only about half of the audience. And engagement rate, typical engagement rate on LinkedIn is about 2.3%. So here, didn't do that well, did okay. Yeah. TikTok, this is when we start to see the kind of overlap between those two most important things of impression rate and engagement rate. So on TikTok, you can typically reach more people than you have followers. Really important to drive growth. And engagement rate means that you're reaching the right people, because typically people are not going to interact on content that they're not interested in. So that's a really good combo. That tells a very good story of TikTok in that experience. So for me, TikTok here looks brilliant, despite the fact I have a much bigger audience on LinkedIn. And then you look at Instagram Reels, where you got some nuts percentages. I've got 150 followers, literally do nothing on Instagram, but impression rate is massive, unbelievable numbers. So similar to those tweets that we were seeing, of course, engagement rate is tiny, because naturally Instagram has to guess who's going to be interested in it. But as far as that experiment goes, really interesting, because it helps you understand, if you don't have many followers right now, you can think about the platforms that are going to be the best to drive growth. So Instagram Reels, TikTok. And if you're really thinking about how we're going to drive deeper engagement and get more meaning from or build trust, affinity, all that good stuff from our audience, then you can think about the engagement rate perspective. But some very interesting trends. So I've been talking loads, but
I think this is a related question. So Doris in the chat is asking, outside of monetizing posts, is there a tried and true strategy to get post engagement? Would your answer right now be to try short form videos, or is that, that's a big question, I guess. Also kind of the question everyone's trying to answer all the time. So
to drive post engagement, we've got more opportunity on TikTok and Instagram Reels than we have before, because we've got so many more creative tools. We've got stickers, we've got kind of slidable polls. We also have the ability for people to remix our content as well, which is a completely different paradigm of engagement, right? Rather than a like or comment. And realistically, the short form video works, or just short form content in general, always going to work better, because naturally, not only is it going to reach more people, it's more engaging by its nature, because it forces you to get the critical points out in the shortest time possible. So people have the opportunity to go, oh yeah, that resonates with me, because you're only doing like small bite-sized pieces of content. So it's likely you'll drive more engagement and interaction. There are loads of other ways of driving more meaning and interaction as well. You got polls, quizzes, giveaways, collabs with people, all of that stuff. We could go on forever about that. I'd probably suggest we probably have that as a topic.
I was going to say, probably we should. Yes. Yeah. Cool. No, that's super helpful. Thank you.
Cool. Awesome. Cool. Bit of data. So that's the kind of trend stuff that we noticed over the last month. So let's then look at some data, and then we're going to go on to the specific feature updates, which there aren't that many of, but the ones that we have seen this month are very significant. So anyway, let's look at some data. TikTok usage in the over 50s doubles. So the baby boomer cohort, particularly at the bottom, you can see where this data's come from. So this is from Global Web Index. It's one of the best data sources that I know of, to be honest. Baby boomers, those that are over 50, are gravitating towards TikTok, which just goes to show that there's becoming a really nice balance in terms of the demographic. It seems like I'm like a TikTok fanboy because I talk about it all the time, but it's just how it's growing and evolving.
Yeah, you can't help it.
Yeah, you really can't, because it does look like it's in a really good place. Not only is it the most popular app or increasingly popular with baby boomers, it's the most popular app for under 18s as well. So, talking about a wide plethora of the audience that you can target on this as a platform. Yeah. And you can see the shifts, what these different colors relate to. So green is US, blue is UK, yellow is the rest of Europe. So you can see just across the globe, the growth is just unbelievable. So that growth is continuing. We talk about this loads, once again, leading time spent on the app as well. And it's this single data point is the reason for all of these TikTok changes, all these Instagram changes rather. That's the bit that's really got Instagram worried, because you can see that the time spent on TikTok doubles Instagram. So naturally, the only tactic Instagram have in their locker to try and fix this is go, let's just copy them. And let's just then forget what people's friends and who they follow are doing, and just recommend content that we believe will keep the user engaged. So that's a negative take, but the positive take, as we said, there's much more opportunity to reach brand new people, and that is a very important thing.
And I think it's great to point out, like you said, that the ages on TikTok are changing, because I feel like me too. I was like, okay, my audience isn't really under 18s. So maybe I just don't have to be on this platform. And I don't know that that's really the answer anymore.
It's not. And I think that's the thing in the world of social, is that we need to be open-minded. We need to be cognizant of the fact these things will change and shift all the time. And whilst, that statement would have been true a few months ago, it's just not true anymore, to be honest.
I have a question. I think it's related to this, and you may not have an answer. In the chat, Basma asked, they've noticed that reels that are getting monetized don't get enough engagement. Is there a correlation between monetized reels and low engagement? Have you heard that? I haven't heard anything like that.
So when you say monetize reels, are you talking about reels that you've boosted and put money behind?
Great question.
Some other dynamic.
Yeah. Will you answer in the chat if you mean boosted reels, or I guess monetized could also be reels you're making money off of? So that's a good
or whether you're running it as just an ad, because reels only released, we're about to cover it in a minute actually. Reels
perfect. Sorry,
boosting of content. No, it's great. Reels only released content boosting just a couple of weeks back, only a week back actually. So that's a new thing. But either way, I'll wait to the answer.
We'll wait, and we'll wait till we get to that.
We'll dive into it.
Perfect.
TikTok ad revenues. So there was a question about ads earlier, and I think that's a really interesting thing to think about as well. So where money is starting to flow into these platforms. So of course, naturally Jordan and I think quite heavily about organic when we talk about social, because we both have grown up building smaller businesses, etc. So we've got to do more with less. But advertising plays a huge part in it in terms of reaching your right audience. TikTok's advertising product is getting increasingly large and increasingly powerful. And the costs are getting lower as well. Initial advertising campaigns on TikTok were pretty expensive. Now they're coming down. And the fact that it's starting to take more advertising revenue, and it's forecast to be on par with YouTube, is absolutely massive. It really is. So that is a big thing to think about, because it's going to have a couple of implications. So one, it's going to have one implication in the sense that the organic reach that we get on TikTok right now will go down. There's no two ways about it, because we will see more ads come to the platform. Organic goes down. It's just the way, it's just a natural evolution. It's painful. So realistically, if you want to think about some kind of short form video growth strategies, it's a golden opportunity right now, to be honest. But also, as advertising products get more money flowing through them, they become more mature, they become better at targeting, they become more cost effective. It means they become more accessible for small businesses. And that's when kind of my ears prick up and I'm like, that then looks like a really good opportunity. And just as an anecdotal thing, whilst this isn't necessarily advertising, I have put quite a bit of money into boosting my own personal content on TikTok, and it has worked really well to drive good and meaningful engagement and good follower growth. So I'm quite encouraged by the opportunity that exists both on TikTok organically and from an advertising perspective. This is a more broader thing to think about as well, because this is a bit of an interesting thing to look at, because creators' earnings, etc. But it does show one of the biggest challenges that TikTok faces, because I share lots of good, incredible stats about TikTok. But one of the biggest things that they face, one of the biggest challenges, is that those celebrities that bring those fans and the communities to the platform, which are so crucial for the growth of the platforms, they don't make anywhere near enough money as they really want to. Sounds a little bit money grabbing in that as a statement, but ultimately that's what's so powerful about YouTube, and why the advertising product of YouTube is so good, and why YouTube continues to grow. YouTube continues to be an undervalued platform from marketers, and I've got some data to support that comment in a second. But it just goes to show this is definitely a big challenge that TikTok is facing, because if creators can't make enough money on the platform, then they will leave. So that actually then plays quite nicely into YouTube and YouTube Shorts, because let's not forget, YouTube Shorts now has 1.5 billion monthly views, which is bigger than the whole of Instagram. So that's their short form video approach. So there is a huge amount of opportunity. There's a lot of things going on in the world of social, but the good thing for us as individuals that are just trying to grow our business, it's all centralizing around one single content format. Yes, if we're not good with video or being on camera, we've got a bit of a challenge.
Sorry. That's actually someone just asked if you don't show your face on Instagram Reels, but I think videos in general, because you're shy and just show your product, is your engagement going to be low? I feel like there are so many creative ways to not show your face if that's not what you're interested in.
There definitely are, or definitely is rather. And I think this is it's not meant to be a plug, but as an example, I very rarely show my face on TikTok. Most of my content is actually filmed PowerPoint presentations. My good Lord, doesn't that sound boring? But it's still
yeah, that's not a great pitch for it. But I do think that is a good point. You can also work your way up to it. Like, I never in a million years thought I could ever do video, and now I'm doing it all the time. So there is a little bit too, like, as you kind of practice, you can also record them and then delete them or never post them, just to get used to it. So I think people do love seeing your face, like it's a human connection, but I also don't think, my personal feelings and thoughts about this are, it's better to do something, even if it's not like the best thing, than do nothing. So if making a video and not showing your face is the thing you can do, I think that's better than not making a video at all, personally.
Yeah, I'd back that. Yeah, there's definitely other approaches. I think, going back to the point, the single point of, does content with your facing get more engagement? The answer is yes, right?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that is the honest truth of it. But ultimately, it is a small business's superpower, and that's why big businesses are struggling to make this shift, because small businesses can represent themselves. And if you want to build a brand, irrespective, or a brand in however you perceive a brand, especially as a small business, like, Jordan, you're a perfect example of this, right? You are your brand, right? Your brand has a different name, but ultimately, the reason that it's got known, the reason people feel happy parting with their money for your product is because they know, like, and trust you, right?
Yeah.
Fair, or is there anything else you'd add into that?
Yeah, no, I think that is the small business superpower. You're right. So I always love leaning into what you can do the best in your situation. And I do think small businesses and small brands have like a very lucky situation there. So yeah, I vote lean into it if you can, but also, like I said, do whatever works for you instead of doing nothing
Yeah,
is where I that's where I stand.
that's definitely the key takeaway for sure. Now, this is a very interesting thing. It might be one of the most dull looking slides you've got, but this has a huge,
Yeah,
huge
this is
implication.
wild to me. This made me feel old when I saw this because I would never.
Isn't it mad?
Yeah.
Isn't it mad? So, and the fact this is a Google executive coming out and saying this and saying like, this is a real problem. Google Maps is the thing. That's how businesses are found. Clearly, you want to find a restaurant that's local to you, Google it. Find something on a map, look at the Google reviews, make a reservation. That is how maybe you and I are showing our age. And I know I'm older than you, but
Yeah.
I don't know. But either way, this is both a very interesting shift, and we have been thinking about like social overtaking search in terms of like brand discovery. We have been saying this for a while, but seeing it written like this starts to really bring it home. And one of the products that Instagram's just launched, of which we're going to talk about in a second, really supports this. But I think this then presents an incredible opportunity for small businesses because SEO takes significant time. So ranking page one of Google, appearing first in those search results takes a significant amount of time, expertise, and a lot of copywriting and people that really know what they're doing. And plus good tech as well, right? You need fast websites and all that good stuff. Whereas social, the barriers are a lot lower in terms of being able to get yourself discovered. Of course, there is, just as much competition, but we're going to talk about some tools that are going to help you with that. But a really, really interesting shift.
Yeah.
Spoke about YouTube, the fact that YouTube is not thought about enough from a marketing perspective. Yes, it is from a creator's perspective, but I saw this report which was forecasting over the next 12 months what consumers see themselves using from a platform perspective. Interesting that we talk about TikTok lows and it's kind of ranked fairly low here, which is fascinating to me. And then you got marketers. So what do marketers actually want to be spending their time in? And there's some interesting disconnects, and I'm only going to call out a couple here, where YouTube is the one that's the biggest thing that's out of whack. And I just think here at this point, there's just so much opportunity that exists on YouTube, whether it's YouTube Shorts or whether it is some of the kind of new social commerce features that have just been launched. Honestly, social commerce has such a natural home on YouTube. For example, like, I'd be interested to take your take on this because you run a retail site. Have you attempted selling any of your product on social, Jordan?
I definitely have on social. I definitely do on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. I am like a newbie to video, truly. Like I have not, which like preaching to the choir here, video is the thing I should have been doing probably the whole time. And it is, to me, so I understand everyone in the chat who feels this way, the hardest and scariest thing. I will say technology and like good cell phones have made all of that a lot easier. Like video is easier than it's ever been, I think, but I haven't really leaned into selling with video yet, even though I know it's definitely the move.
Yeah, well, let's talk about it a little bit more when we look at the YouTube changes.
I do have one question too from the chat. So I think so Gabriella asked, hello from Nicaragua. Do any platforms work better in regions like Central America? I know you've done some slides that show like the difference in different countries and different regions of the world. Do you feel like there's a massive difference in which, like from the research you've done in regions, or is like looking at this graph right here like relatively consistent across the globe? I know that's a very specific
Yeah,
question to ask
no,
on the spot. So
it's an excellent question. This data is very US centric, and data about which platforms are utilized more heavily has some absolute regional and cultural differences, which we can't cover because it's a bit too specific. But I really want to answer this question. I think, yeah, I'll go ahead. I'll tell you what, alambert@adobe.com. Send me that question and I will send you the data that supports the answer to that question. So yeah, alambert@adobe.com.
Cool. It was asked in Facebook too. So we'll find you in Insiders and
amazing.
answer.
All right, cool. So I commit to answering that question. So I've got the data, but I'm not going to go rooting from my desktop right now. So
sounds great.
Cool. Right. New features. There, like I said, not as many this month, but they're very impactful, the ones that we're going to talk about. So this hasn't rolled out yet, but it will roll out. Whether this is going to happen in the next month, probably easily before the end of the year. So what everyone's going to see before the end of the year, it's a hypothesis, but I think it's probably like a strong theory that your Instagram primary feed is going to be 16:9, which is kind of like your mobile orientation. It's going to be predominantly reels, or mostly all reels. Every video you upload will become a reel, which will also mean that opens up the opportunity for you to have 15-minute reels. For me, that this starts to feel all a bit weird because everything kind of gets shoehorned into one format. Is it short? Is it long form? It's a little bit strange. So there's going to be a lot of stuff that we're going to be, I commit to spending a lot of time researching this so I can report back what all of this stuff means. But I think the key message here is that, and this is either a good message which has got lots of opportunity in it, or a message where it's just going to be super frustrating because it means a complete change of strategy. But we have been talking about it for a while, in the sense that you really won't be able to succeed if your objective is to drive growth on Instagram. You won't be able to succeed if you're not focusing on Instagram Reels. I think it's as simple as that. And that is a bit of a sad state of affairs if you spent your time building a community based on, your friends, fans, followers, etc., building around, people being able to, that people would be able to see your content because they follow you. It really starts to make follower growth kind of, I'm not going to say I think this for definite yet, but it's definitely a theory I'm working on. It's like, is there any point in followers? I'm starting to question that as a thing. So we might actually have to start reevaluating what success looks like. Hence the reason, we come back to that previous thing that we were talking about impression rate and engagement rate, those two things being like the two metrics that really define success. Yeah. I mean, what's your take on this,
Jordan? I haven't grown in followers in probably a year and a half. So I mean, that's definitely something that was the thing I was doing for years and years and years, and then hasn't really happened. So again, in my specific situation, I changed a lot of things. So I never wanted to blame it on the platform, because it very easily could have been the fact that I've spent less time on it for sure. But it's all lining up with what you're saying. So that makes a lot of sense to me. And we did get an answer from the chat. They were talking about the Reels Instagram pays for within the creator status. So I guess the monetized Reels.
Okay, cool. We'll come on to that in a second, actually. Perfect. So yeah.
Perfect.
Nice. All right, another Reels orientated update, new template. So you'll see this now when you go into Insta Reels, and if you're starting to play about and have a look at it, you'll see right at the bottom of your screen, you'll see a templates option. As you'll know from Adobe Express, you know what templates are all about. I don't need to explain that to you. But what that does allow you to do, it starts to kind of lower the bar for creativity, because this answers this question about, do you need to show your face, or do you need to do video? And if you're not comfortable with video right now, what these templates allow you to do is upload a sequence of photos and embed those photos in some form of like motion orientated way. Basically, all you need to do is upload 12 photos and the template sorts it out for you. So it gives you an opportunity just to start experimenting with it. I don't think it's optimum. There aren't aren't a heap of templates right now. So content's going to end up looking quite similar to others, it's fair to say. But as a way of getting started, Jordan, your point around like something is better than nothing in this instance. And, you know, if static image is still your thing, you've still got a way forward with that using Reels. Does that make sense?
It does. And I also just learned yesterday that you can import on the mobile Adobe Express app. You can import video into a template, which I somehow didn't know until yesterday. So like you can also play with this in Adobe Express too, which is very fun. So
awesome.
Maybe I'll mess around with that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, report back on that one. So yeah, I think this is a good one about lowering the bar to creativity to get us, you know, starting to get into the habit of doing Reels and making that transition of our strategy a little bit easier. This is a brand new shock horror innovation from Instagram. We haven't seen one of these in a while.
Okay, yeah.
So it's a new content format called dual mode. Because this whole content format of like reactions has become so popular, you know, so you can do like a take of someone else's piece of content. So I could take something from a reel from you, for example, Jordan, I could do my reaction on it. I could produce a new piece of content, right? We can do that now.
Yeah.
But what Jules allows us to do is film something and our reaction at the same time, basically by using the back and the front camera. So like take this example
okay, cool.
Looking at incredible scenery, we're doing our reaction to it as well. So it creates quite a rich experience for the consumer, that content, rather than seeing like a beautiful landscape. They got the human emotion to it. You're like, whoa, look at this. So that's quite cool. I quite like the thing. And I think once again, this is, and to be fair, this is everything that Insta are trying to do at the moment, because they know that this big pivot to short form video is going to cause creative challenges for people. And this is obviously a great thing for us, us at Adobe Express, solving these creative challenges for small businesses. And I think this is going to be the biggest thing that faces small businesses, so these creative challenges. So being able to simplify that and lower the creative bar, whether it's through templates or whether it's through, simple content creation tools like this dual mode, I think this just lowers the bar to creativity, really gives us another angle for our content.
I have a follow-up about the search via Instagram and TikTok. Do you happen to know if those stats were mainly for B2C and D2C? Marcella asked, wondering if B2B fits into that trend. Like, do you happen to know that's a very specific question. You all have great questions that
I'm loving the detail. I'm loving the detail. So they didn't call it out specifically, but in the examples on this article, the examples in this article were all consumer-based examples. Okay. So I would say it's a strong hypothesis that B2B orientated searches aren't as heavily driven by Instagram and TikTok as are like B2C orientated purchases. Because what Google is seeing, more people turn to TikTok to look at like, best fish restaurant, for example, and TikTok SEO becoming important. Whereas in the B2B space, where social is more important, it's just more about trust and word of mouth growth, and all of the share of voice that you're generating around your business, rather than people being like, hey, I need, what's the best project management software, for example.
Right.
A lot of that stuff is happening on social, but it's typically happening right now in like Facebook groups or Discord groups and that kind of stuff. Yeah. So that'd be the way I answer that. So let's go on to the monetized stuff on Instagram Reels. So Reels boosting is here for what it's worth. Like I said, I've been doing this quite a lot on TikTok. So just being able to put a tiny bit of spend, I don't know, $10 behind a post, and it being able to get more followers. And I've seen it being quite good and effective in that way for those particular things that you want to draw attention to. So TikTok has done it. Boosting is fairly common practice anyway. I think we all get it. So Insta only launched this, there you go, July 19th. So yeah, just over a week ago. So this could be a good one as well. So for any reel that's performed quite well from an engagement rate perspective, they would be typically the ones that I would be looking at boosting, because organically, if you've driven a high engagement rate, that means you still need to drive those impressions up. And that's where boosting is most effective at driving up those impressions. So here, can we, do you mind saying that response to that monetization question again, please?
Yeah, it was creator post. The Reels Instagram pays for with the creator status. So it was like monetized Reels, not boosted Reels.
Okay, interesting. I don't actually know why that would be.
I haven't heard anything about that either.
Yeah, I'll go away and have a think and a bit of a research on that one. But yeah, sorry, I can't add any more on that one at this point. Okay. But cool. Instagram subscriber exclusives. This is only really for a very select few people, I would say, that have a follower base deep enough that would want to get exclusive content. So this allows you to paywall, and I think it's still very useful for those that are building a good follower base on Instagram, where you can start to paywall certain pieces of content and start to have specific subscriber only reels or feed posts or whatever, or Instagram lives, all of that hidden behind a subscriber only area. So it gives you an opportunity to monetize your content in a different way. Naturally, you would need to have quite a, I was saying, advocate orientated fan base, I would say. So this won't be applicable to everyone. Maybe yourself, Jordan.
We'll see. Yeah, I'll check it out.
This one is a very important one. They've been working on this for ages, and finally it's here. I mean, Jordan, do you want to give a bit of narrative on the importance of working with other people? We talked about that. Oh
man, it is the only reason any of my businesses made it anywhere. It's, for me at least, which will not be a surprising thing as a community manager, like community, collaboration, partnerships, all of that I think is so important. And in my retail business, I've partnered with designers, I've partnered with producers, I've partnered with, I've like done boothing at places. I'm like partnered with people to sell, commission their merch to sell, to expand what I offer. So I've used most versions of partnering with other creatives at some point. So this, would have been a game changer. Love that it's available now, but really could have used it for the past 10 years.
Yeah, I think this is, spoiler alert, this is Jordan and my number one growth hack, if you want to call it that, for any form of social content. Finding others you can work with, and there are a whole number of different ways you can work with people. And maybe Jordan, you and I can probably do a whole live on of collaborating with people, because if once you crack how to work with others, you will crack social and grow your business as a result. So tools like this, TikTok have one as well. Creator marketplaces just make it easier for us to find those folk. Something that links very nicely into that Google thing we were just talking about, and I think this is going to be super powerful. This basically means like social and SEO start to converge. This is why it's going to be so important to make sure our bios on LinkedIn are absolutely on point, our locations and all of that stuff. So especially if you're a local oriented business, restaurants obviously a perfect example. So when, as this trend starts to grow, particularly it's in the younger generation now, but increasingly this is going to get bigger, where people start to turn to social to go, hey, where's a good place to eat where I am right now? You want to make sure you are there. If you're in an applicable business for this, obviously you are there. This is live now. So go ahead and look this up. Very powerful. Live producer tool. So Instagram continuing to push on Instagram lives. Another really important way to collaborate with others. Live streams, super important. I've spoken so much about short form video, but don't forget about live video as well. Live video, quite easy to create. Obviously, we're creating, and delivering at the same time. This is actually a very time efficient way of creating content. So yeah, don't forget about Instagram Live. It's still generating really good reach. Meta, big changes to Facebook.
This is funny because someone in the chat earlier, Jade, said, am I the only one who doesn't like Facebook's new page experience look? So we're about to talk about it.
There you go.
Or part of it. Yeah.
I would say you're probably not alone. Probably in a 99% of people. So the upshot of this is Instagram. Facebook are changing their main home screen layout. So the biggest change they've made in years and years to a home screen, which is no longer going to be populated by those that you follow and groups, etc. It's all going to be about algorithmic recommended stuff, exactly in the same way that Instagram are going. And guess what's going to be prioritized? Reels. So
who would have guessed?
Exactly. So whilst, we could make a kind of snarky comment about that and go, oh, guess what? It actually does mean, however, that we can take that one piece of content that we've created and repurpose that really, really easily. So that this might be, and maybe I've just got my positive head on today, is that I think this might well be the next big opportunity in Facebook to actually drive growth through. Yes, we have to kind of compromise on content format and go to short form video, but because they're pushing it so hard, this is going to be opportunity to drive growth. Feeds, so this view, it's a bit small on the screen, so I apologize, but this feeds area is going to be where all the things that you follow will be. But
okay.
Yeah. So it's not like they're completely killing all of their previous experience, but really it's the home screen that's going to drive it basically, and that's really where people are going to be starting to spend more of their time. So naturally, if you got followers on Facebook, that actually means like that's an annoying situation, right? Because you can hypothesize here that it's unlikely that your reach is going to improve as part of this. It's probably going to get even worse than it is right now, which is not a good thing. What that means for groups, however, because Facebook are super keen on groups, and it looks like they're going to be renaming groups to communities anyway.
I love that.
So yeah, more changes, but it makes sense. But like we said last month, they're making some changes. I don't have this change yet. It should be rolling out to everyone. It's going to be that kind of side navigation bar, which will still have all of your groups in. So group discovery is actually going to be quite good, because if you imagine on your mobile app, which is the way most people or the majority of people access Facebook, yes, they'll have that kind of home thing, which is going to be recommended TikTok-y orientated content basically, but you'll have this kind of sidebar which you can scroll from left to right, which will have those groups that you're part of. So that's still going to mean like communities and groups look like they're still going to play a significant role in driving growth and the meaningful interaction. So Facebook aren't pivoting away from this. It's good to say. So that is something that is remaining consistent and actually
so happy to hear that, because we talk about it all the time, but Adobe Express has our Facebook Insiders group, and anything that makes that group experience better is amazing. So really happy to hear they're not deprioritizing groups. There are a couple, I think, really quick questions. So someone asked about using short form video, like if they should basically post their videos on Instagram instead of TikTok, because assuming Instagram will like take over it. I feel like we've kind of been talking about, if you have short form videos, repurposing that content or making a version of it for as many platforms as you can is the move. And Sam also asked, as someone who hasn't used Facebook since shortly after high school, if I want to grow it, should I be using my personal page or an artist business page? And I would say using an artist business page if you want to grow it for anything that isn't just your personal friends.
Agreed.
And Giovanna asked, for those just starting to use social media to market their small graphic design business, which platform is best based on these updates? I mean, I think if you're willing to make video, like all the platforms that have video is the one. I don't know if you have a different answer for picking one to start, but
best is always hard to quantify. But I'll say right from the outset, if you want to drive growth, as in get more eyes on you, it's going to be Instagram Reels, it's going to be TikTok, and I would still put LinkedIn into that as well, because I think that's very meaningful for you growing your business. So those three would be my go-tos, but I'd also be repurposing the short form video that I'd be creating onto Facebook as well. Doesn't need to mean you need to be there just means like you can get yourself, as broad a reach as possible. But it's those three, I would say. I'm going to need to speed up because we're running short of time.
Sorry.
Conscious that we've talked for ages about this, so we could talk forever. But anyway, Facebook in-stream payments, great for small businesses. So now you can actually send links to get people to pay directly through Facebook Messenger. So if you're running a Facebook shop and someone's like, hey, I'd like these 2 t-shirts, you can just request payment directly from those as well in stream, which is a great consumer experience. Facebook is also allowing you, when you post, you can choose the audience for who's going to see that post. So if you want to start to be a bit more kind of private, especially with all of the kind of changes to the recommendations, if you don't want randomers seeing your content, you can now choose that I just want my friends to see this, or family or whatever, which is very useful. Facebook are bringing some live moderation tools, which is very cool. Instagram do this too. As you can see, this is an Instagram screenshot. So very, very powerful, because if you're doing a live, the last thing you want is to have, someone heckling you from the comments. So having someone else you can delegate to manage that. But once again, just goes to show how important lives are. Twitter, do you know what? I'm going to make a strategic choice. I'm going to gloss over Twitter today because all of the carnage that's happening at Twitter at the moment, they're not really going to be focusing on the user experience. So for me, Twitter is not the place to drive growth right now. So we'll cover updates next time. LinkedIn is launching carousel posts, however, not available to everyone now, but are rolling out. We know how well carousel posts perform, so this is definitely a really good one to test out. TikTok did absolutely nothing this month. What a shocker. They've never done that. So no updates.
Business as usual. Yeah.
Business as usual. YouTube have rolled out some new shorts analytics. So simple as that really. But the thing that I really like is kind of contextual analytics. So it just tells you how well you're doing compared to your last video as well. So nice and simple. Shorts are also putting in some new creative tools. To your point earlier, Jordan, they've got a whole drafts area too. So if you're getting unconfident or you don't feel quite confident enough with video, take a bunch of drafts, or so you don't feel like you have to post whatever you create. You can come back to that. And also these cuts are going to be super important. So I think this is a really simple way of creating content. Find something that you like, cut it, and do your own reaction to it. Like we saw earlier with like the Instagram Jewels stuff, reacting to content is going to be one of our best ways of creating content. So rather than like finding, let's say I liked your post, Jordan, rather than me just kind of reposting it, for example, or with a comment, I can now go, this is great, and take a cut of that video and go, do you know why I think this is great? Because of this particular reason.
That's cool.
I think this is a really good way for people to start creating content. This is possibly the most important thing, though, that YouTube have done. YouTube being behind the curve in monetization. And now this means in-stream commerce. So, Jordan, to take your example, selling your t-shirts, you could be running a panel discussing your particular niche. And you could be all wearing the particular items that are for sale, and then you'll just have that across the bottom of the screen. So people are watching your YouTube live, and they're like, "Oh, what is that T-shirt Jordan's wearing? That is cool. I'm going to buy it straight away." It's basically like QVC. It's the shopping channel, right? And this is going to be the future of commerce. So the fact we can do this just by linking our Shopify account, it's just genius. Just as easy as that. And if we use Shopify, we've got the TikTok integrations, we've got Twitter integrations into that, we've got the Facebook and Instagram integrations. So, I don't work for Shopify, but it does look like a very good tool.
It's good for e-commerce for sure.
And last two, I think, how are we doing for time?
We have like 1 minute.
Yep. I tell you what, Snapchat Plus, that's a subscription platform. Don't need to worry too much about that. And Pinterest have launched some new shopping updates as well. So you can tag your products and implement those into your shop. And they've got the integration with Shopify as well. And there you go. Here are the main takeaways. And I think we've probably got enough time for you to kind of wrap us up here, Jordan.
Yeah, so we have a few questions that we didn't get to answer. Please feel free to join our Facebook group. We're at Adobe Express Insiders. Andy and I are in there all the time. So we answered a lot of questions, but feel free to hop in there and ask us more. We'll be back in 2 weeks. And we also do live streams in the Facebook group just to answer social media questions for you all. So happy to help with your very specific questions, which I know is hard to answer on a live like this. But thank you so much, Andy. Like I said, you can answer or you can ask us any questions on social. Both of our handles are right here. You can subscribe to the Adobe Express YouTube channel for more videos like this. And we'll be back in 2 weeks with more social media and online marketing strategy.
We'll see you next time.
Thanks so much. Thanks for tuning in, everyone.
Thanks
Have a
a
good
lot.
day.
Bye-bye.